On a summer morning in 1948, a well-dressed man was found dead on a beach in Adelaide, Australia. He had no identification, no wallet, no wound, and sewn into the lining of his trousers was a tiny scrap of paper with two words printed on it: Tamam, Shud. 75 years later, nobody knows who he was. It was December 1st, 1948. Just after 6:30 in the morning, two people walking along Somerton Beach in Adelaide noticed a man lying against the seawall. He was dressed unusually well for the beach: a suit, polished shoes, a tie. At first, people assumed he was simply asleep or perhaps drunk. He wasn't. By the time police arrived, the man was dead. There were no signs of violence, no wounds, no struggle. His pockets contained a few ordinary items: a comb, a pack of chewing gum, a box of matches, but nothing that could identify him. Every single label had been carefully removed from his clothing, not torn off, removed. The autopsy raised more questions than it answered. The man appeared to be in good health, roughly 40 years old, with no obvious cause of death. Doctors suspected poison, but no toxicology test of the era could identify what kind. Weeks passed with no identification. Then, in January 1949, a small piece of tightly rolled paper was found sewn into a hidden pocket in his trousers, a pocket so small it had been missed in the initial search. On it were two printed words in an unusual script: Tamam, Shud. Investigators eventually traced the phrase. It was Persian, from the final page of a book of poetry called the Rubaiyat of Omar Khayyam. The words mean, roughly, "It is finished," or "the end." Police made a public appeal, and a local man came forward with a copy of that exact book. He said someone had left it in the back seat of his unlocked car around the same time, in the same area. When investigators examined the book, they found something else: faint impressions of handwriting on the back page, 5 lines of letters that appeared to be some kind of code. To this day, no one has definitively cracked it. There was also a phone number written in the back of the book, which led police to a woman living nearby. When shown a cast of the dead man's face, she reportedly reacted with visible shock, but she denied knowing him, and investigators, for reasons that remain debated, did not pursue the connection further at the time. Fingerprints were taken. Dental records were checked against missing persons files around the world. Nothing matched. No country would confirm he was one of their citizens. For over 70 years, the Somerton Man remained completely unidentified, one of the most famous unsolved cases in Australian history. Theories ranged from Cold War espionage to a broken-hearted man who took his own life to something far stranger. In 2022, using DNA extracted from hair embedded in an old plaster cast of the man's face, combined with genetic genealogy techniques, researchers announced they believed they had identified him: Carl Charles Webb, an electrical engineer born in Melbourne. Some researchers consider this identification strong. Others in the case's dedicated community remain more cautious, noting that full official confirmation and consensus is still debated. But even if his name is now known, the central mysteries remain unsolved. How did he die? Why were all his labels removed? What does the code in the book mean? Who was the woman who reacted to his face? And why was that lead never fully pursued? Somewhere in a police archive in Adelaide, the file on this case still exists. Decades of notes, theories, and margin annotations from investigators who never got their answer. A man's identity took 70 years to even partially uncover. His final moments may never be known at all. If you find cases like this fascinating, subscribe to Marginal Notes. Every week, we open another file that history left unfinished.